just want to make sure everyone understood how, Terraform leads into, why you would also want to use Flux on top of that as well, right? So back into, the slide at hand, Flux is there once the clusters have been stood up by your Terraform module, and it is there to ingest Kubernetes objects and, code to run workloads and continually keep that updated on those clusters. So that's really the goal of it. You can manage Tanzu packages with it. You can manage Helm deployments with it. So it's quite flexible. Essentially, to configure Flux in Tanzu Mission Control, it's really 3 simple steps that you go through. And this is either at the cluster level or at the group level. But for me, the most value I extract out of the group level. So first, you enable it on the group. Second, you configure your Git repos and your various, looks like I have a typo here. So number 2 is configuring Git repos, and number 3 is configuring your kustomize folders. And once you do that, all those configurations are then translated down to all the clusters within that group, right? So as you can see in my example, it can be EKS clusters, it can be Tanzu clusters, AKS, doesn't quite matter. As long as they're in the group, they will receive, those configurations. And then those clusters then pull all of that information from the purple Git repository on the bottom of the screen. So again, just kind of looking at exactly what, this translates to in the real world and what you would potentially be able to do with this kind of offering is, so if we're looking at, our line of business prod cluster group that's on the far left, it's this teal color. We want to have all these different icons deployed to it. We want Cert Manager, we want, Falco Security, we want Carbon Black, etc. We want all these things on these clusters every time they're deployed. That's a requirement, right? How do we do that? Tanzu Mission Control uses the cluster groups and the Flux at the cluster level to do that. And I think this is a pretty important point because we've got many customers that I've talked to that have these needs, these desires. Was there any kind of like automatic tooling that you used to have to deploy with your clusters, Scott, when it came to like production? Or is that all just part of the monolith?
Part of the John, part of John's magic, right?
Yeah.
So you just said something though, made me think of something I used to say a lot that this would help tremendously with. So I used to quote. So Emerson said that consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. So kind of poking at consistency as being something you shouldn't strive for. But I also said he never worked in IT,
yep.
Right? So consistency is huge in our world, and the ability to manage, like you said, you want to roll out a new cluster, you don't have to worry about whether or not these things are going to happen to it. They happen automatically because you can enforce the policies with Tanzu Mission Control. That's huge because again, now you have confidence that your clusters are consistent in their production environments or any other environment, really. Yep. Right? That's huge.
And when you get asked to prove it, like, hey, are we meeting compliance? Like, prove it. Sure, let me go.
Yeah.
Let me show you, right? So, these are all important tools to be able to make sure that, you can do the job that you need to.